Well, folks, I'm with Jackie Gurden. It's in the middle of the night. What is it? It's
About midnight.
midnight again.
Bit jaded, bit jaded.
We're in. Whereabouts are we? We're in
Quanjo.
Quanjo. About to catch a flight back to New Zealand. Jackie, I know it's been a bit tiring, but let's get this out of the way because we've got to trap it. We've got to get the information while it's still there.
That's dead right, we do.
Now, the trade delegation, the tourism delegation that came over, it's gone pretty well.
It's gone exceptionally well. Yeah, it's been a really good experience over here, having a good look at what's happening over here in China. Yeah, for
Now,
me,
you were representing the business interests associated with tourism, like the cycleway trails, and did you see any opportunity?
I do. I think it's an emerging market here. I think it's something that we saw those cyclists turn up just as we were leaving, and they were all decked out in all their lycra, so clearly there is a market over here. It wasn't evident at the conference that we were at, so I think it's something that we're digging further for, so we've sown the seeds to try and identify how that is placed in China at the moment. So certainly we know it's here, but we're just trying to find it. Yeah.
At the tourism exhibition or exhibits, the Mayor Lixon personally escorted you and a few of us around the various exhibits. What did you think of it?
I felt it was it showed us the way China is actually looking at presenting their culture out there. It was all about the people and all the arts and crafts and activities. We saw as we walked through that, from the geoparks right through to all the things that they're doing with their different arts and crafts, and particularly their medicines as well too. So that was really good to go through and look at how they're portraying their tourism and using culture. They used the expression there at the conference, using economic development to convey culture, and I think that we saw that very clearly.
We'll get on to culture shortly because I know that you've been chomping at the bit on a number of areas there. So we also met the secretariat of the party and went to that fabulous banquet. Had the opportunity to speak. Were you surprised that it all ended up on national Chinese TV?
Was I surprised? I think we were actually contributing quite a lot to the look of what's happening with tourism there. So I wasn't really surprised, and I guess we know we had the paparazzi with us everywhere we went. So I think it was really important to them, what this whole sister city relationship. So it didn't surprise me, and it was really good because it shows how much we were valued and how important this is to them, as well as what we're getting back from it. Yeah.
I was watching the Mayoress when you and her were looking at making that treacle things, and there would have to have been 30 cameras there. They were clicking and banging and fighting to get in. How did that feel?
It felt really odd to start with. It really did. And the other thing that you probably didn't see is when we were sitting at the back of the conference, all the cameras were in front of us. So all the people were attendees had all this media that we couldn't see the front stage because they were all up there with all their cameras. It was really quite incredible, and just everything we did, we were on show. They wanted us viewed with all their products. Everybody wanted photos with us. They were doing all their endorsements and utilising us to portray their products. So it was quite incredible. Yeah.
Now we called in and we supported the education part of the delegation at the Huanggang middle school. Good experience?
Absolutely, yeah. I've been doing quite a lot of work with Westland High School and looking at the whole elevation of Westland High School, so working with Latham and Ian, and to call in and have a look through that school and the relationships that are being built was really, really good. And those young girls that I had 2 young girls take me around. They were very, very good. You really warmed to them, and they were really wanting to learn from us as well. They want to, I'm on WeChat with them now, and you can see they want that connection.
They were
so
very knowledgeable, weren't they?
They were. They really were. And just the hours that they work, at school from, what was it, about 6 o'clock in the morning right through to 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
Totally different
6
lifestyle.
days a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just really interesting experience, very different. But they really wanted to learn and they welcomed us. It was really good.
And the elevation of the education agreement or friendship agreement to be taken over by Bonnie, and the confirmation of that first group coming out in August, then another lot.
Yep.
That was such a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just shows that whole building of international relationships and the opportunities that students in Westland are going to get now as well too. It's just opening up the futures of those young people to be global and to start thinking global. And I think that's really, really important.
Now, were you thinking global when you went to the opera?
Yes, I was. I was really lucky at the opera because I sat next to Chris, our interpreter. So he was telling me the whole story of what that was all about. And the voices were absolutely amazing. And one of the significant things that they've identified there is opera. So they were showing us one of their key significant attractions, their points of difference there. And it was absolutely fabulous. And sitting by Chris and hearing that story, all about that sort of that love story, but what it was telling in terms of telling the history of that place. So that was the story that was told.
I missed all that.
I got all that.
Oh.
It was great, and I loved those voices.
Now, China's had obviously a history of industrial pollution.
Yep.
Excuse me, and and yet the senior leadership now seems to be very, very focused on cleaning up. Like the lake we had a look at, that is now the centre of the city. That was amazing.
It was. What I picked up from that is this whole revitalisation and the value of that. And I picked up from the young people that we had exposure to their absolute pride in what they're doing. And I picked that up from the conference as well too, that what they're doing now, they're not just portraying their culture, they're embedding this in their lifestyle. And that was one of the themes. I mean, you up the front and I was down the back taking notes, and this I saw coming through is this new pride. They've gone from having something which is dirty and unclean to something they're really, really proud of. And those young people are really enjoying living in Wuhan there now. Just the revitalisation of it is being embedded in them. Yeah.
We appear to be the only Westerners in the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Went for a wander around the city.
Yep.
Anything we can learn about signage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, too right. That's something, we are wanting Chinese to come and spend more in our place, and they don't know what they're buying. It was like us, we look at boxes of things and we don't know what the price is or what's in it. We've got so much to do in terms of putting the signposts around to direct them, and also to let them know what they can buy and what the quality of that is. So there's a whole body of work that we need to do.
Quite a discussion coming there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And it doesn't have to be in your face. It can actually be sort of subliminal, and they will follow that as well. So what we're doing with Wayfinders, our interpretation panels, and also use of phone, very much QR codes as well too. I think there's a lot that we can be doing around apps.
I was pleasantly surprised at the cleanliness and the quantity of the toilets.
Yeah.
It's a pretty important thing.
Yeah. I guess I started thinking about toilets, and should we be having one or two toilets like they have over here, just to welcome them and just so that they get a little bit of, the fact that they are welcomed, and we have some infrastructure in place that they can identify with. Because we certainly identify with our infrastructure when we go into the toilets.
We do. Now, we've got a central hub, and we've got 11 counties.
Yep.
And it appears, if I'm reading it right, it appears that the counties have adopted a cultural approach to their tourism. What was your, like the first county we visited was the home of the Buddhist temple.
Yep. What I picked up from that conference is exactly the things that we're looking at in New Zealand. So what they're doing mirrors what we're doing in Westland and the cultural tourism plan we've got for Westland. they've identified, they've reversed it a little bit. So they're looking at economic development to convey culture. We'd actually been looking at it culture for economic development. So there's a slight twist in that, and I think they've got it better than what we've got it. And they also talk about the well-beings. They talk about economic well-being. They talk about education, environment, and social well-being all together as what they're trying to do in the way they're portraying it. And then they talked about quality experience. They talked about working together. They used an expression that was 5 singing songs and 5 talking tongues. And I thought it was a proverb, but it's about all them singing and talking from the same page, I think, so they're all working together. And then underneath that, they'd identified the significant things that they had, so their points of difference. And they were just to try and, the 6 of them, they were opera, they were Buddhism, they were their medicines, and Li Shenzhen. They were all their calligraphy and art, which was sushi, and they were their geoparks and their historical revolution. And what I saw they did, like when we went to all these places, they took us to a number of those sites. So it's like hub and spoke. They took us out to these sites, and we saw massive build. It was like build and they will come. And they were the hubs of where the medicine was. So where they took us to the distillery.
Wasn't that just unbelievable?
Absolutely, it was really fantastic.
I loved it.
I tell you, and that massage that we had as well too. You know, I've been having a wee bit of trouble with my neck and sore back. I'm fine. It's great. I loved it.
Not so bad considering the hours we've done it in the last 8 days.
Yeah.
Now, in many ways, we have our Tourism West Coast icon program,
yep,
where we have the icons. I get the feeling, in a funny sort of way, they've done it with culture.
Yep. But what they've done there is exactly what we're looking at doing in that Western plan. So even if you take the discussions we've been having about Hokitika, and you look at that as the centre, and with things like we're talking about the Parliament Museum, and even today when we were in the Immigration Centre, we've talked about how we had that, and we'd modelled it on the discussions of the states. Hadn't thought and known about China, but what we saw today is some of the discussions we've been having that could happen along the river with lots of cultures that are welcomed and that come there. So absolutely looking at that, and we're looking at the centres that things happen in Westland, the places in situ where our stories are told, which are our heritage sites, and how we develop them. So places like Mahinapua, and also looking at what we can do in Ross with the heritage and eyesight down there, because there's 1 million people passing through and it hasn't had an upgrade for years. So capitalising on that, and we're not just talking about Chinese culture, but the Chinese culture is the one that most other countries do speak or connect with English, and the Chinese don't. And it's a big market for us, but we do this in the context of the global scale and all the people coming through. But I think the partnerships that we've built here, and particularly to be able to work with Bonnie, because we've had quite a lot of discussion, Bonnie and I, just about the things that we can be doing a whole lot better, and we can continue that now. So
I saw you trapping her in the bus every time she got in there.
Yeah.
And what a great host she's been.
Absolutely excellent. She's just the way she looked after all our needs and attended to them. She was great, and I had quite a lot of discussions with Bonnie, just snuck up beside her and asked her my questions, and that's how I've pieced so much together at what they're doing and got her feedback. I spent quite a bit of time today talking with her about Hokitika and Westland, and she was really honest about some things, and that really adds value, and there's a lot of opportunities sitting there that we're not conscious of. Some of them we've had the wrong understandings as well too, so it's been really good.
It was interesting to discuss the potential for bringing exhibitions over, especially from the Chinese medicine.
Yep.
I mean, I found that just fascinating.
Everything, there's a package. What all those icons and things they showed us, that's a package. And the good thing about that too is you actually need to do that on a package to really get to understand it. So they've got that captured market there. So no, It's great. It's really, really good. Yeah.
So this morning we ended up being taken to the free trade zone,
Yep.
something that most people will never get the opportunity to do, into 10,000 square metres in one building of freezer space.
Yep.
Cold inside, wasn't it?
you and I ventured in. We didn't realise that we put a coat on.
And it was, and
So we backed out.
and I guess Mia Chen has opened up so many doors.
Yeah.
And we ended up sitting down, of course, with the owner of 130 stores, supermarkets.
Yeah.
She was lovely, wasn't she?
They were, and that company too. Did I get that right? They're one of the top 3.
Yes, they are.
in China.
In their region.
In that region.
Yeah.
That was a really important meeting. And of course we had the meal and we weren't quite sure. I think we were sort of feeling our way. And then when we sat down and talked with them, and the networking and the vibes that happened, and particularly when you put across the opportunities, it was government to government. So it was like, we need to go back and explore what these relationships are. And certainly when we started talking about tourism and what they were doing and what we were doing, and all those networks and those friendships and those contacts, it just clicked. There was a real vibe there, wasn't there?
Well, Mia Chen has said that he'll be bringing 1,000 people to the Wild Foods Festival.
Yeah.
My first thought was, where we're going to sleep them.
Oh,
And of course the opportunities in education, but tourism to me looks like it's going to be a huge winner here, because I didn't know that May, June and July is the peak tourism season here. In fact, there are so many people they can't handle them, and they're trying to unload them into places like New Zealand. Well, have we ever got a deal for you guys?
yeah, we have, and we've got to work it as a deal as well too, because it's got to be for both parties. It's got to be a win-win, and it's got to be productive, profitable as well too for the businesses. So what we've been looking at doing with the cultural tourism project is linking together those packages, and we've now identified a direct market for that. So there's already a hub of businesses starting to work together, and now we're going to have that feed through, and I can see it can feed through the school as well. So yeah, very clear market there for us, and and a relationship market. But logistics, 1,000 people coming, how do you manage that? I'll tell you, Bruce, today I was also in, you can see I'm quite animated,
Yeah,
I was also in, when we were in the immigration centre and you saw the sculptures, and to me there's also international art exchanges as well. When you think about Driftwood and Sand and some of their artists coming across, and vice versa for our artists, there are so many links at every level. We've been talking about technology and education and the partnerships here. We missed the technology centre because we hadn't put that on the table, but we could have seen that as well on our first day had we have put that on the table. So there's all sorts of layers.
Well, we came over here to listen, to learn, and to put in place a framework that would allow government to government to work. So our council and the Chinese government to work together, that will allow our businesses then to actually be able to function, doing it the Chinese way. I think we're a lot better informed.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that the framework's in place.
Yep.
They've allocated government officials for both tourism, culture and education for us, individual people, and we've met some of the highest powered people in Guangdong. Amazing.
We couldn't have asked for anything better. And it's also, the thing is, it's about embedding a relationship. It's not about this is what we've got and that's what they've got and how do we work it together. It's actually about the relationship. What have we got to do? What have they got to do? What is going to bring benefit, and what, how we work that out. So it's not necessarily putting something on the table now, it's going back and just working through it. So I think that relationship is, and particularly the links we've now got with those people to work through that, I think is really, really critical. And it's not trying to do, we weren't here to try and do a whole lot of stuff at the start. This was sort of like fact finding and finding our feet really, and same for them, and I think that's what we've done. Yep.
Well, when we turned up and we had the first site and the International Expo in the best location.
Yep.
And we had people. It was a really neat feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. What we've done, you've sort of got to pinch yourself really at the places they took us. They were special. They were really special, and we've got to reciprocate.
Well, look, the theme for the visit was cooperation leads to mutual benefits.
Yep.
Do you think we've done it?
Oh, 110%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, folks, that's Jackie Gurden from Gurden Consulting, and she's part of the Westland delegation that's just spent 7 days in China, and I've got to tell you, I've never seen anything like it. Thanks, Jackie.
Fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah.